The stars shimmered like silent watchers over a divided galaxy. But on the day the Galactic Council gathered in the Sky Throne Chamber, the silence held something darker judgment. The chamber, a structure of light and crystal orbiting the sun of the neutral world Sendar, was filled with representatives from over 200 civilizations, most of them thousands of years old. In the center of the circle stood Earth's delegation, two humans in dark blue suits, eyes sharp and expressions unreadable. The council members whispered among themselves in alien tongues, scales glistening, feathers twitching, metallic limbs flexing. Humanity had advanced too fast, they said. In less than 100 years, the species had leapt from radio waves to faster-than-light drives, from basic satellites to weapons that could fold gravity and cut through capital ships. It was unnatural, dangerous, and worst of all, uncontrolled. Earth refused to register its military with the Council's peace registry. It ignored trade quotas, colonized free planets, and developed AI without oversight. What frightened the Council more than Earth's power was its unpredictability. Humans didn't play by the same rules, and now the old empires felt their thrones shake. The High Speaker, a being of translucent skin and many eyes, rose and struck the gravity bell, filling the room with silence. "Earth," it said, voice echoing unnaturally, "you stand accused of violating 12 galactic laws. Your species is armed beyond acceptable limits. You expand recklessly. You resist unity. The Council, in full majority, has voted. You are to disarm within one cycle, one Earth year, or face enforced peace." The words were soft, but everyone knew what they meant: submission or extinction. Ambassador Leah Rains stepped forward. Her voice was calm, steady, and full of restrained fire. "We came here to build peace, not to beg for mercy. Earth has defended itself, not attacked. We ask to join your council as equals, not as slaves." A ripple of emotion stirred through the aliens, but the High Speaker's expression didn't change. "Equality must be earned through obedience," it said. The second human, General Marcus Vole, a war veteran with cybernetic implants gleaming under his collar, leaned forward. "And fear must be earned through arrogance," he muttered, more to himself than to anyone else, but the translator drones picked it up. A tense hush followed. The High Speaker gestured, and without warning, a hologram flared to life in the center of the chamber. Mars, Earth's proudest colony, a gleaming red jewel of terraformed valleys and cities. Then, in real time, it was consumed by fire. The Council had ordered a demonstration. Orbiting plasma cannons already stationed in secret around Mars had been activated remotely. The colony's defense grid, still under construction, was no match. Millions perished in a wave of white heat. The humans watched in silence, their faces unreadable, but something cold and ancient shifted behind their eyes. Leave didn't scream. Marcus didn't move. They only stood there as if memorizing every face, every word, every glow of arrogance around them. Then, Leah said softly, "You've made your decision. Earth will make hers." Without waiting for permission, both humans turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving behind a room full of smug whispers and hushed doubts. Some council members celebrated. Others watched the exit with a flicker of unease. Not everyone believed that humanity would go quietly. Back on Earth, the reaction was far from silent. The footage of Mars burning spread in seconds. Grief turned to fury, and fury turned to unity. For the first time in its chaotic history, Earth spoke with one voice. Old rivalries dissolved overnight. Nations merged military and science under one command. Underground bunkers lit up with activity. AI cores were activated. The moon's dark side revealed secret shipyards, dormant but fully stocked. Even the Martian survivors in distant outposts sent messages: "Revenge will be the light we follow." Within hours, Protocol Phoenix was activated. A war plan written decades ago, in secret, for a moment just like this. Not war in the traditional sense, but something colder, more calculated. Earth didn't just want justice. It wanted a statement. As Earth's skies filled with the hum of new war machines and spaceports fired up hidden engines, a single transmission was sent into deep space short, encoded and directed at an ancient satellite lost near Council space. You struck first. We strike last. Somewhere far beyond known charts, in the void between stars, an automated Terran battleship, long presumed inactive, began to wait. Its AI core whispered to life, calculating millions of scenarios, simulating war not for victory, but for instruction. Back on Earth, deep under the surface, the World Command convened. Not in public, not with banners or speeches. Just minds aligned in silence. Humanity would not beg. Humanity would not run. The countdown had begun. And the galaxy had no idea what it had just awakened. The stars blinked coldly in the void as Earth vanished from the galaxy's eyes, not with an explosion or retreat, but with silence, deep, total, unnatural silence. No transmissions came from its satellites, no ships traveled from its ports, and no signals pulsed through the space around it. The Galactic Council watched with a mix of amusement and confusion, thinking Earth had broken under the weight of their ultimatum and the destruction of Mars. They expected desperation, perhaps surrender, maybe even chaos among the humans, but they saw nothing. This silence was worse than any scream. While the Council argued over what to do next, believing the threat was already gone, Earth was transforming beneath their notice. Entire cities moved underground, shielded from scans, powered by new reactors running on dark matter cores. The planet's surface was quiet, but below, it beat like the heart of a machine that had just woken up. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and strategists worked around the clock in hidden chambers the rest of the galaxy didn't know existed. Factories that once made civilian tech were converted overnight to build things the Council had never imagined: full space torpedoes, adaptive stealth armor, sentient drones, and warships that could blink across space without using traditional drives. Artificial intelligence, once regulated on Earth, was now given full permission to evolve and expand without restriction. Some feared it, but everyone agreed survival now depended on reaching beyond the limits of fear. In the darkest labs, Earth's brightest minds created a new generation of soldiers. They weren't robots, and they weren't mutants. They were human in body, but enhanced by technology so advanced that even Earth's old governments had once banned it. Neuralink implants allowed instant communication across fleets. Armor stitched itself back together. Fighters responded to thought. These were not soldiers who fought for medals or flags. They fought for the ashes of Mars, the cries of lost families, and the honor of a species betrayed. The force was called the Terran Vanguard, and every recruit knew what they were joining: a mission not of conquest, but of reckoning. In orbit, the dark side of Earth's moon revealed its secrets. Vast shipyards, hidden for decades, powered up slowly, awakening automated assembly lines and factories filled with titanium, antimatter, and alloys mined in silence from Jupiter's moons. Thousands of ships, sleek, fast, deadly, took shape in the shadows. Some were drones, some were piloted, and some were nothing but weapons with engines. But all of them had one purpose: to strike when the enemy least expected it. Deep within Earth's command center, buried under the Andes Mountains, a council of humans no longer divided by country or race watched the galaxy's movements with quiet focus. Satellite eyes, cloaked in deep space, tracked every ship that left Council territory. Earth's spy network, once used to prevent global wars, was now used to map alien weaknesses. Data poured in: supply routes, fuel stations, security gaps, military patterns. The Council's pride had made it lazy. They had grown used to controlling weaker species, and their systems were built on rules that no longer applied to humanity. For Earth, there were no rules now, only survival and justice. And then came the signal. A single Terran stealth drone, no larger than a chair, drifted near the edge of a Council outpost on the planet Excelvar. It avoided every sensor, using a cloak that bent both light and radiation. It wasn't there to attack. It only carried a message, simple, short, and chilling. The outpost commander read it 3 times before realizing it wasn't a threat. It was a countdown. Earth hadn't disappeared. It was watching, preparing, choosing its moment. Back on Earth, the people didn't panic. There were no riots, no rebellion, Everyone knew what was at stake. Billions worked in quiet harmony, repairing, building, coding, training. Art was paused. Entertainment vanished. Every resource was focused. For the first time in history, humanity had one purpose. Even the children knew it. In schools hidden beneath the Himalayas, kids learned strategy and survival instead of history. They didn't fear war, they expected it. Not because they loved violence, but because they understood one truth: the galaxy had shown no mercy, and so mercy was no longer Earth's offer. Outside the Council's reach, rumors began to spread. Merchant ships whispered of seeing strange vessels and deep spaceships that didn't match any known design. One pilot claimed his navigation system went dark for 10 seconds near a black nebula, and when it came back online, a symbol was carved into his ship's hull: Earth's flag, drawn in plasma. The Council dismissed these reports as superstition, calling them fabrications by smugglers or frightened outlaws. But doubt had begun to fester, even among the powerful. Some members of the Council began asking quiet questions. What if Earth hadn't surrendered? What if the silence wasn't weakness, but strategy? A few even suggested reaching out, but they were silenced quickly. Pride, after all, was still the Council's greatest weapon and its deepest flaw. Earth counted on it. As months passed, the preparations neared completion. The Terran vanguard stood ready, their eyes colder, their armor shining with technologies that made even Earth's own history books look like fairy tales. The ships of the Black Fleet floated silently in space, waiting for the signal. The AIs whispered to each other in encrypted thoughts, planning simulations, adapting strategies, learning from every historical mistake humans had ever made. There would be no second warning, no declaration, no negotiation. Earth's revenge would not come in the form of speeches or shows of force. It would come like a shadow swallowing the stars. One Council station, drifting too close to Saturn's rings, caught a faint transmission before its sensors failed. A human voice, calm and low, saying only, "You should have let us be." Then silence returned. Earth had prepared. Earth had evolved. And now, the storm was nearly ready to break. In the far reaches of Council-controlled space, the planet Tizarn 4 floated quietly, its skies calm and its cities bright with alien lights, unaware that they would soon vanish forever. It was a mining world, rich in energy crystals and guarded only by a light fleet, as no one expected trouble there. But high above the planet's orbit, something began to shift, a ripple in space, a brief distortion, and then silence again. The Council's sensors noticed a momentary glitch, but dismissed it as static interference. Minutes later, the first strike came, not with noise or fire, but with an unseen force that crushed every satellite around Tizarn 4 in one synchronized moment. No alarm sounded. The satellites didn't explode, they simply ceased to exist. Their cores folded into themselves as if the laws of physics had changed for a second. On the ground, communications went dead, and then the sky began to change. A black shape appeared above the clouds, moving without a sound. The alien miners looked up, confused, not yet afraid. But then the sky split open, and light fell like a blade. Earth's attack had begun. Terran ships, sleek and dark like flying shadows, descended in tight formations. They didn't fire lasers or missiles. They used energy pulses that erased targets without explosions, clean, cold, perfect. Defense towers tried to respond, but their software had already been rewritten. Earth's viruses had been uploaded into the Council systems weeks ago, disguised as harmless data traffic. By the time the first alarm truly sounded, the entire planet's defense grid was in Earth's hands. Panic swept through the alien workers and soldiers as buildings collapsed without warning, their foundations turned to dust by resonance bombs. A single message played in every language known to the Council: "This is your punishment for Mars." It was not spoken with rage, but with precision. The Terran vanguard landed only after the planet's resistance had been erased. Their boots touched the ground like ghosts stepping into a forgotten room. The soldiers didn't speak. Their armor moved with them like a second skin, glowing faintly with living circuits. They carried weapons no one recognized, and they moved like a single mind. They did not stay long. They took no prisoners. They left behind no structures. And when they departed, Tizarn 4 was no longer a mining world. It was a crater field. The council was shaken. In their grand chambers, the High Speaker stared at the report in disbelief. Sarn 4 had been erased in a matter of minutes. No ships were seen entering or leaving. No warnings had been received. Only a single Terran drone was found drifting nearby, its surface engraved with a date, the day Mars fell. Before the Council could recover, it happened again. Another outer colony, Terraloon 6, vanished. This time, an entire Council fleet had been stationed nearby, but it didn't matter. The fleet's engines froze mid-warp, their systems hacked and shut down. Some ships drifted helplessly into the gravity well of a gas giant, pulled apart slowly while their crews screamed across open channels. Others exploded from within, their power cores triggered remotely by software that Earth had planted months before. Earth had not only prepared for war, they had rehearsed it. Every move was calculated, every strike surgical. Panic spread through Council space. Rumors of human shadow fleets grew louder. Merchants stopped traveling near Terran sectors. Even pirates avoided Earth's zone, afraid of being mistaken for enemies. Council leaders held emergency meetings, each one more frantic than the last. Some called for peace talks, but the majority still believed Earth was bluffing, that it had a few surprise attacks, but no real power to fight a prolonged war. They were wrong. As the Council struggled to respond, Earth released the first fragment of its new technology, a captured drone, broken and returned to Council hands, filled with corrupted data. The scientists who studied it found only one file they could recover, a simulation of the Galactic Council headquarters being destroyed in exactly 72 hours, down to the second. It wasn't a warning. It was a prophecy. And as fear settled in, more strange incidents began to occur. Council planets reported seeing flashes in the sky, Terran ships testing new warp techniques. Entire cargo convoys vanished without distress calls. Defense grids shut down for exactly 9 seconds at random intervals, always returning to normal as if nothing had happened. It was psychological warfare at its most perfect form. Earth wasn't attacking constantly. It was attacking precisely just enough to keep everyone afraid, unsure, doubting their strength. Earth had become the hunter, and the Council, once proud and powerful, had become the prey. Inside Earth's hidden command centers, maps of the galaxy lit up with red zones, each one a target, each one being studied by AIs that ran endless simulations every second. The leaders did not celebrate. There were no cheers, no victory parades. This was not about glory. It was about balance. Humanity had been pushed to the edge and pulled back stronger, colder, and more focused. In one of the brief moments of recorded communication, a human commander spoke through a hijacked broadcast on a Council world. "You thought we were children playing with fire. Now, the fire walks in armor." That message spread faster than any weapon. Council citizens panicked. Some worlds went into lockdown. Others began to question their leaders. Why provoke such a species? Why ignore their warnings? On a cold, silent night over the planet Vir, a new symbol appeared in the sky, a giant Terran beacon floating high in orbit, projecting Earth's emblem across the clouds in light. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It just hovered, a message burned into the heavens. The Council tried to destroy it, but every weapon they sent turned back or vanished. Earth was no longer just a threat. It was a shadow spreading across the stars, one step at a time, and every step was a lesson. The first blow had been struck, and it was not loud, it was quiet, sharp, and unforgettable. The galaxy would never be the same again. Far from Earth, deeper than any human fleet had dared go before, the Council's core worlds pulsed with the rhythm of old power, surrounded by glowing defense grids, endless patrol ships, and planets thick with palaces and war factories. The heart of the Galactic Council, the ancient seat of their pride, wealth, and command, rested there in a star cluster guarded by fleets older than Earth's entire history. These were the homeworlds of species that had once shaped galactic law, who now sat in fear behind their walls, whispering about Earth's growing silence between each attack. But they believed the core was untouchable. Even the bravest of species had never struck it directly. Even rebellions feared the wrath that would follow. So the Council continued to debate and delay, waiting for Earth to make the mistake of a full assault. Yet Earth's leaders had something far more precise in mind. Inside the shadows of deep space, far from any mapped lane, a single Terran stealth vessel aimed, and everyone could feel it, even those who had never heard of Earth before. Whispers of a rising force spread across border colonies, hidden moons, and crowded marketplaces in distant systems. The Galactic Council, once untouchable and all-powerful, was now fractured and uncertain, its members watching the stars with fear instead of pride. Every world that had once cheered the Council's victory over Mars was now silent, waiting, wondering when their turn would come. Some Council leaders still clung to the belief that Earth would eventually fall back, that this storm would pass, but deep inside, they all knew it was a lie. Earth was not acting like a rebellious species. It was acting like a new power, one that was not interested in negotiations, politics, or threats. It moved with purpose and silence, striking where it hurt the most, and then disappearing again like a ghost in the dark. Entire fleets now refused to move without triple-checking security systems. Council intelligence agencies, once the most feared organizations in the galaxy, had been reduced to confused analysts reading fragmented data and chasing shadows. But what truly shook the galaxy came not from a weapon or a fleet, but from a voice. One calm, cold, and final message. It began without warning, across every major broadcast channel, slicing through firewalls and encryption as if they were nothing. No one had ever seen such a wide-scale override. Civilian screens, military interfaces, even personal communication devices all flickered and then froze. A black screen appeared, then a simple Earth emblem, glowing blue, before fading to a view of a quiet, lifeless red planet Mars. The recording played slowly, showing the moment the planet's cities burned, one after another, under the Council's assault. It didn't use dramatic music or speeches. It showed facts, data logs, emergency broadcasts, and faces of civilians young, old, frightened, watching the skies as death fell from above. Then the video changed. It showed Council members celebrating, laughing, toasting, watching as the destruction was confirmed. One by one, their faces were marked with names, dates, and the word approved. And then the screen went dark again. A moment passed. And then, from the silence, a voice began to speak. Calm. Steady. Human. You thought we would forget. You thought time would make us kneel. But we have not forgotten. We do not kneel. The message continued, describing not threats but reasons. It listed every Terran colony attacked, every peace request denied, every moment when Earth had been called primitive, weak, or foolish. It reminded the galaxy that Earth had only asked for respect, for peace, for its place among the stars. And in return, it had received fire. We are not here to rule, the voice said. We are not here to conquer. But we are here to remind you that actions have consequences. Mars was not the end. It was the beginning. You opened this war with celebration. We will close it with silence. Then came the true shock. The screen displayed a list of over 100 Council-affiliated worlds. Some were military hubs. Some were trade centers. Others were private estates of high-ranking officials. Each name was followed by a single word, processed. The voice returned. These are not threats. These are results. We have already been there. We left no noise. We left no flames. We simply turned off the lights. Across those very planets, people began to realize that they had lost contact with their satellites days ago. That something felt wrong. By the time the message ended, all systems returned to normal, but no one felt safe. The silence was worse than war. Even species that had once mocked humans now sent quiet messages to Earth, offering peace, apologies, or alliances. Some surrendered their territories without a fight, hoping mercy would follow. Earth didn't respond. It didn't need to. The final message had done more damage than any weapon ever could. On Council Earth monitoring stations, the highest-ranking officials resigned in disgrace. Some vanished entirely. The Council's remaining leaders held one last secret meeting, arguing whether to launch a final counterstrike. But they all knew the truth. They didn't even know where to strike anymore. Earth had gone beyond their reach. It had evolved into something they could no longer predict. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in bunkers built not for safety, but for strategy, Terran commanders watched the galaxy shift without smiling. There was no celebration, no cheering, only reports, quiet analysis, and calm silence. Humanity had delivered its message. It had no interest in occupying planets or replacing the Council. Its revenge had never been about power. It had always been about memory. A reminder burned into the stars. And across the universe, people would speak of it for generations, not as a story of war, but as a story of justice, of what happens when you try to destroy a people who never truly die. In the end, it wasn't Earth that spoke last. It was a small alien child, watching the broadcast from a refugee colony light years away, who asked a simple question: why did they attack Earth at all? No one could answer. And that silence, above all else, became Earth's final message.